I've got the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus here, and today I'm going to be doing an updated video to show you how to gain root access to the entire Galaxy S10 series after it has been updated to Android 12 and OneUI 4.0 as well as OneUI 4.1. So you can see right here we have Android 12 installed. It's updated to the latest version of OneUI, which right now is version 4.1. But again, this tutorial is going to show you how to root both OneUI 4.0 as well as OneUI 4.1. Now before we can begin, there are some things we're going to need to have set up ahead of time. For example, we're going to need to have the bootloader of this device unlocked. If you have not already unlocked the bootloader, look down in the video description below, as I'm going to have a number of links to previous tutorials that can help you get caught up to speed. A dedicated tutorial that I have done on unlocking the bootloader is one of the many that will be linked down there. We're also going to need to download the same firmware that we have installed on our device. So whichever version of the firmware you have installed, we need to download that version of the firmware. We're going to need to have that version of the firmware downloaded to our computer. You're also going to need to download Odin. And again, you can find the download link to Odin in the video description, as well as the tutorial that I have done showing you how to download official Samsung firmware. So this is the firmware file that I downloaded. I personally used Freya in order to grab this firmware, but there are many other websites and programs that can help you get official Samsung download firmware. I went and extracted the contents of this big file, which gives me these 5 files. You should get a file that starts with AP, a file that starts with BL, a file that starts with CP, a file that starts with CSC, and then a file that starts with home. So after you have downloaded the firmware, extract the contents of that firmware, and now we're going to take this big AP file and we're going to copy it to our Samsung Galaxy S10. So now that we have copied the AP firmware file to this device, we now need to install Magisk. So we're going to download Magisk. From the GitHub page, which is where you should always be downloading Magisk from. And we're just going to download the latest version. Once downloaded, we're going to open it and install it. And we're doing this so that we can patch that AP file with Magisk itself. So now that we have opened up Magisk, we're going to tap the install button up here. You can see recovery mode is automatically checked. So we're going to go ahead and tap on next. And now we're going to choose the select and patch a file, which is going to bring us to a file explorer, and here is the AP file that we just copied. So I'm going to select that file and now choose the Let's Go option. Now we can follow along to find out exactly what is happening with that AP file. It has not only processed that tar file, but it has extracted both the boot and the recovery image files. It's copying a few files. You can see it is patching VB Meta. Copy in some more files. Writing the boot image. Checking the RAM disk status. Making sure the stock boot image is detected. Patching the RAM disk. Writing recovery. And right here, we are given an output file. So as long as we did not get any errors in here and we're told where the output file is, everything went successfully. So we're going to take this file, this Magisk_patched file. It's from the download folder. We're going to connect the phone back to our PC and copy this patched file into the same folder as our other firmware files on our PC. We then need to boot the device into download mode. And again, if you're not familiar with how this is done, look in the video description. I have done a previous tutorial dedicated to showing you how to boot the Galaxy S10 series into download mode. So once we get to this screen, we're just going to press the volume up button to bypass it and get us into this screen, which is download mode. And when the device is in this mode, we're going to connect it to the PC with a USB cable. And after we have connected the phone to the PC with a USB cable, we're going to go ahead and open up Odin. And you should see that the phone is connected and that it is detected properly, both via this little notification, either in any of these slots telling you which COM port it's connected to, but also with the log here. If I were to remove the phone from the PC, we're going to see it's removed. But as long as it is connected, then it's going to say added right here, and we're going to see the COM port that it's connected to. So now we're going to take these firmware files and we're going to load them into Odin. We're going to start with the BL button. So we're going to click that BL button, and then we're going to find the file that begins with the letters BL. We're going to do the same thing with the CP file. We're going to click the CP file and then choose the file that begins with CP. We're going to click the CSC button, and then we're going to choose the file that begins with CSC. And lastly, we're going to click the AP file, but instead of choosing the AP file here, we're going to select the Magisk_patched file. So you can see here is our options tab. We're going to leave auto reboot checked. And when you're ready, we're just going to click the start button down here at the bottom. So what's happening is Odin is now taking not only these 3 files, but all of the individual files that are in this big compressed file. It's going to be extracting them and flashing, aka installing them to our Galaxy S10 one by one. All these bin files, all these image files, they're going to be copied to our smartphone and written to the appropriate partitions. You can see not only do we have a progress meter up here in Odin, but when I look at the phone, we also have a progress bar at the bottom of the download mode screen. There's no need to touch the phone, no need to mess with the USB cable. We want to maintain a secure and solid USB connection while Odin is doing its work. Now, once Odin finishes everything up, since we have the auto reboot option selected, once this finishes, assuming everything goes successfully, our Galaxy S10 Plus is going to reboot on its own. And as Odin finishes up, we're going to be looking for a green pass message, as well as keeping an eye on the log right here and making sure that there are no failed. We're going to look for failed 0 and succeed 1. Once we see that and the green pass message, our phone has now rebooted. So you're going to see the Galaxy S10 attempt to reboot into Android again and again and again. It's never going to do it. It's basically put you into a boot loop because we are not finished with the tutorial. We're going to want to keep the USB cable plugged in, and we're going to boot into recovery mode by pressing and holding the power, Bixby, and volume up buttons. And we're going to continue holding those buttons down during the boot cycle. Until it takes us to this screen here that looks like recovery mode. We're going to be told that the data may be corrupt, and that's the reason why we cannot boot into Android. So we're going to go down and we're going to press the volume down button until you see the factory data reset option, and then we're going to press the power button to select that option. Now we need to press the volume down button again to confirm that we want to factory data reset, and then again we're going to press the power button to confirm that. After the factory data reset, we're going to let the phone boot back into Android like normal. You can see we are not going to be getting a boot loop this time. And even though it takes a little bit longer than normal to boot into Android, this is normal. It's because we've just done a factory data reset, and Android needs to set some things up so that it can activate the operating system. And after a couple of minutes, we're going to see it go from this Samsung boot screen and take us directly into the Android activation screen. So now I'm just going to skip through most of this. So that we can get to the home screen of OneUI. So now that we have booted back into Android, it's going to seem as if everything is completely stock. It's going to seem as if we do not have Magisk installed, but actually we do. We just have not loaded Magisk on boot. And that's required on the Galaxy S10, the Galaxy S10 Plus, and the Galaxy S10e, and probably even the Galaxy S10fe as well. We need to hold down some buttons while the device boots up in order to boot Magisk when Android loads up. So in order to load Magisk, we're going to need to power off the device. And we're also going to need to make sure that the USB cable is connected to our Galaxy S10. I have this USB cable connected to the PC. And we're just going to wait for the battery part to come up. So from here, we need to hold down 3 buttons. We need to press and hold the power button. We need to press and hold the Bixby button. And we need to press and hold the volume up button. And we need to press and hold all 3 at the same time. And we're going to let go of those buttons after the 3rd screen that we see transition here. So we're going to hold these 3 buttons. We're going to see some screen transitions, and we're going to count to 3. And then after that 3rd screen transition, we're going to let go. So we're going to hold all 3 of these buttons down. And we're going to count 1, 2, 3. And once we see that 3rd screen, we can let go of all 3 of these buttons. If we were to continue to hold those buttons down, then that would boot us into recovery mode. Instead, we're just loading Magisk, which has been installed to our recovery partition. So now with that done, we can unlock the device, and then we're going to install Magisk again. We're going to go Magisk GitHub. And we're going to download Magisk just like we did before. And now we're going to open it. When we open it for the first time, after we have done all of this work, we're going to get this requires additional setup. So we're going to tap on OK. And it's going to reboot our Galaxy S10. During this reboot process, Magisk is finishing up the install process. It's getting all of its files into place. And now that Magisk has finished setting everything up, when we boot into Android, we can open up Magisk and see that it is installed. We can see version 25.1 is the current version that is installed. We can check this. By downloading a root checker app. And when we open it up, we're going to get the prompt for root access after we tap the verify root option. We're going to grant root access, and you can see we have successfully rooted our device. Now the thing about the Galaxy S10 is that we have to load Magisk each time on boot if we want to retain root access. So, for example, if I were to just do a regular restart, this is the same if we shut down the phone and power it off and then turn it back on. By regular reset, I just mean not holding down any buttons, not loading Magisk on boot. If we just do a regular reboot, then we're going to see that Magisk is going to act like it is not installed. It's going to act like our device is not rooted. Even though we are still going to have Magisk installed, when we open it, we can see the installed section says NA because Magisk was not loaded on boot. So even though we have rooted this device, if we do not hold the right buttons with the USB cable connected during boot, Magisk will not be loaded. So again, to show you how this works, you see Magisk is not loaded. We're going to shut down. And remember, we still have the USB cable connected here. A USB cable needs to be connected to the device in order to boot into recovery mode, which in this case also means in order to load Magisk. It's just a requirement of OneUI 4.1, and I believe it was the same with OneUI 4.0. So again, we're going to press and hold the power, Bixby, and volume up buttons, all three of those at the same time. 1, 2, 3, and at the third screen, then we let go. So now that we have loaded Magisk with the button combination during boot, when we open up Magisk, you can see it has loaded Magisk, so it's going to tell us that version 25.1 has been installed. And again, we can verify root with the standard root checker app. And just as a side note, I've seen a number of comments of people trying to gain root access to the Galaxy S10. When they do, they notice that their 128 gigabyte storage has dropped down to 32 gigabytes. This is not the case if you follow all of the steps in this tutorial. Remember, you need to flash all 4 files in Odin and load Magisk as shown. And if done properly with the correct firmware, you're going to notice that you will retain all of your storage and you will not drop down to 32 gigs. So that's the updated version of how to gain root access to the Galaxy S10, the Galaxy S10 Plus, the Galaxy S10e, and the Galaxy S10 FE. After it has been updated to either OneUI 4.0 or OneUI 4.1, this will work for all updated versions of Android 12 on the device.